Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. I'm John Solo. You are not. I sound stuffed up because I've had an entire full day in the studio here. Hello. All right. Let's talk Andrew Gray for a minute. Andrew Gray has been a friend of mine for a lot of years. And he has hired me to produce a couple of series for him. I just started the second one. This is Carlisle Emergency. This is book one. It's called Kiss of Fire. This kind of connects to the other Carlisle medical series. A couple of the characters show up. Miguel shows up and a few others. But this is classic Andrew Gray. This all feels found family. You know, if you know Andrew Gray at all, you know it's romantic. It's sweet. The sexy times aren't entirely on screen, a little bit, but they end up kind of fading to black kind of deal. It's so good. Anyways, enjoy this. This story time is it's pretty tame actually, and it's just because we're doing kind of the almost fade to black from a sexy scene and kind of the interactions between the two characters. I wanted you to hear their voices, and obviously, again, I can't say this enough. It's all the feels. I love you guys. Have fun. Enjoy. Peace. Chapter 6. Selby pulled away, leaving Cade blinking and confused. I can't do this. Not now. He jumped to his feet. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away, Cade said. Selby's shoulders slumped, and he turned away. I have all I can handle with, well, everything. And He turned back around. I'm not sure I can think straight, and well, we deserve something more than me only half here worrying about everything. Hey, Cade said gently. No, we type at each other. Wow. About everything. Hey, Cade said gently. It was a kiss, and a nice one. He drew nearer, holding Selby's gaze. I didn't mean it as a marriage proposal. I like you, and I know that now is a tough time for you. I'm not pressuring you into anything. Now is a tough time for you. I'm not pressuring you into anything. Selby took a deep breath and quietly closed the connecting door between the sections of the apartment. I know that, and I don't mean to make you think you had. There's been so much hurt and pain these last few days. It somehow doesn't seem right. That you should feel good about something? Cade asked, watching Selby until he lowered his gaze and nodded. There's nothing to be guilty about. Just a little happiness and comfort. I know. I think I'm just so damned confused right now that I'm not sure what I'm doing. He sighed and drew closer. Cade held him in a little hug, letting some of Selby's...
Stop. A light hug.
A little, now that I'm not sure what I'm doing. He sighed and drew closer. Cade held him in a light hug, letting some of Selby's tension soothe away. Can you be patient with me? Cade chuckled. All you want and need. Why? Selby asked. Why would you do all this? He seemed completely confused. Look at the mess I'm in. The kids need me. I have to deal with my car, the farm, not to mention a grieving family, and... Selby pressed his face against Cade's shirt. Wetness, yeah. I want you to make some brownies, too. Need me. I have to deal with my car, the farm, not to mention a grieving family, and... Selby pressed his face against Cade's shirt, wetness soaking through to his skin. I'm sorry. Hey, you've been strong for them. But you're hurting too. Cade held him tighter, and Selby let the grief pour out. All that Cade could do was stay with him and hope it helped. Being a man of action, the hardest thing for him was to do nothing and just be there. But that was what Selby needed right now. Sometimes the hardest thing to do was nothing at all. Cade slowly glided them. And peanut butter. Sometimes the hardest thing to do was nothing at all. Cade slowly guided them to the sofa. Selby sat down and Cade did as well. Sometimes the hardest thing to do was nothing at all. Cade slowly guided them to the sofa. Selby sat down, and Cade did as well. Then he turned on the television, not so much because he wanted to watch something, but because the TV was familiar, and it would give Selby something to watch or ignore, something to capture his attention rather than the grief, if that was what he wanted. Cade kept an arm around him, and Selby settled next to him, and eventually they watched a travel show about Paris. Not that either of them paid much attention. Selby sniffed a few times and wiped his eyes. Paid much attention. Selby sniffed a few times and wiped his eyes. "I'm sorry about falling to pieces." "It's going to happen," Cade said gently. "With you and the kids. They have a lot of hurt and grief to work through, losing a parent." He was just glad that their father was improving. Even if the guy was a jerk, at least to Selby, he seemed to care about the kids. Selby's phone chimed, and he sniffed once more, wiping his eyes before picking it up. He sighed and replied to the message. "It's Dad. He wants me to take the kids to see him tomorrow." "Tell him after work. You can't ignore your job, otherwise Donald will have no choice but to rehouse the kids. Your dad has a long road to recovery ahead of him. Those burns will take a while to heal, and his lungs may never be the same." Cade realized what he was saying. "Is it that bad?" "I don't know, but he's going to be in the hospital for a while. They're going to need to build up his strength." "I don't know, but he's going to be in the hospital for a while. They're going to need to build up his strength, and they may want him to go to a rehabilitation center for a while as well. This may not be a quick process, so your brothers and sisters are going to need you." "I get that, but you don't have to be a part of all this. You should go on with your life. None of this is your mess." Cade drew him closer. "I know that, but I'm not going to walk away unless you really want me to." He wasn't going to force himself on Selby, but he wasn't going to leave him alone to deal with all this either. Something deep down told him that would be a mistake. Selby needed support, and Cade would be there for him. Every time he thought about walking away, his belly grew cold, and Cade pushed the notion back. His belly grew cold, and Cade pushed the notion back. Maybe it was too soon. That logical portion of his brain told him it was. They had met again less than a week ago, and Cade knew that he was setting himself up for heartbreak if he didn't get things under some sort of control. Things with Selby were like a train racing down the tracks, unable to stop, and Cade somehow had to put on the brakes in order to get the speed down. Still, that seemed nearly impossible with Selby in his arms. He felt like this was where Selby belonged, where they both belonged. "You should get some rest," Cade offered. "Everyone is going to be up early, and you need to be ready for work." He reluctantly pulled away. Selby felt so good in his arms, his warm scent tickling Cade's nose. But if he stayed where he was for much longer, then he was in danger of his control snapping. His nose. But if he stayed where he was for much longer, he was in danger of his control snapping. Selby wasn't ready for anything more than maybe kissing. But Cade wanted so much. Every time he'd closed his eyes since meeting Selby again, his imagination let itself run wild, and those images pushed themselves forward. "Don't go," Selby whispered, standing up and tugging Cade toward his bedroom. "Alrighty then." Images pushed themselves forward. "Don't go," Selby whispered, standing up and tugging Cade toward his bedroom. "I really don't want to be alone right now." Cade took a deep breath and held it for a few seconds before shaking shakily toward his bedroom. "I really don't want to be alone right now." Cade took a deep breath and held it for a few seconds before shakily releasing it. "Selby," he said softly, "I'm not sure if this is a good idea. The kids are here and they could need you. Social services could stop by unannounced like they did before. I could forget myself and make love to you in the middle of the night because you're sexy as all hell, and it's what I want more than anything." "Cade," Selby pleaded, then grew quiet. Cade stood and took Selby's hand. He turned off the television. "Go get ready for bed. I'll sit with you for a while, but I won't put you and your family in danger." God, he wanted so much more than that. He watched as Selby went into his room and closed the door. Cade sat on the sofa. "Won't anyone think of the children?" He watched as Selby went into his room and closed the door. Cade sat on the sofa, telling himself that he was doing the right thing. Once Selby came out in pajamas, Cade joined him in the bedroom. Selby climbed under the light covers, and Cade stayed on top of them, holding Selby as he lightly stroked his arm. As calm as he might have seemed on the outside, Cade was wound up tight inside, and damned if he didn't want to roll over and kiss Selby breathless. Instead, he turned out the light, plunging them in darkness before lying still and quiet until Selby rolled over and fell asleep. Then he did the most gentlemanly thing he had ever done in his life and left the room, heading home.